All right, we're back at the airport to pick up a rental car. So yesterday we didn't have the wherewithal to deal with the rental car after about 18 hours of traveling. So we just got an Uber and hunkered down for the night and are back at the airport now. You can see the lettering from, I guess, the name of the airport. And I think it's Cyrillic is sort of the alphabet style. There's little characters over some of the vowels and consonants. There's something over the C there. But it's kind of a cool, wavy, big awning here. And it's just a sort of a gray day here in Zagreb. And we're just sorting out a car. Tammy already made a reservation online, and we're just working through that process. If we see anything interesting, we'll let you know. So we're sorting out rental car stuff. And something I've been thinking a lot about, sort of on the heels of a recent video on AI and lawnmower repair. One of the things that I hear people, sort of the naysayers of AI, harp on quite a bit is the notion of hallucinations and the reality of hallucinations with AI, and sort of pointing to this idea of hallucinations as some, significant flaw, sort of proof that, well, AI really, has a lot of serious fundamental flaws, and can't really be trusted with its responses and its accuracy and its advice. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about hallucinations. First of all, just like anecdotally, just look at AI and lawnmower repair. I got some information from AI, and it was pretty much spot on. So there weren't any hallucinations there. I've used AI thousands, maybe tens of thousands of times over the last, almost 2 years since whenever ChatGPT first came on the scene was when I first started using it, and just giving me quite a bit of really good information, really spot on coding examples, a lot of answers to programming problems and technical information. It's probably what I use it the most for. So that's just anecdotal, but I want to talk a little bit about what hallucinations are, why they're there, and what they point to in terms of AI. Is it really pointing to some fundamental flaw in the approach and in the technology? So when you ask an AI a question, you give it a prompt, you say, I want you to do this, effectively, AI actually doesn't work. We call it these things large language models, but it really doesn't work with language in English and Spanish and Chinese the way you or I work with them, in the sense that ultimately what AI is doing is converting these language words, these tokens, these phrases which turn into a prompt or a query or a question, into numbers, into a series of numbers. So when I say, AI, I've got a broken Troy-built lawnmower, the blade won't engage, what should I do? What's your recommendation? Well, it doesn't just take that English and spit back another English phrase, sort of the way you or I think of how humans would work, or if you're talking to a lawnmower mechanic, it first translates everything you just asked it into numeric sequences. So it effectively takes each word in the prompt or the question and gives a numeric representation of that word, which is going to be a list of numbers. So it's not a single number, so the word lawnmower won't be a single number. That word will actually be a list of numbers, which the more sort of commonly used term is vector. So when you hear the word vector, that just means a ordered sequence of numbers. So let's say it's 100 numbers. So lawnmower fits somewhere in this space of 100 different numbers. And the word airport, which we're here at, is another sequence of 100 numbers, and the word car is another different sequence of 100 numbers. So you don't really specify a single word with a single number. It does take, when we do this, what's called encoding, a mathematical or numerical encoding of a word, you encode that word with a list of numbers. Well, the whole prompt is a series of those numbers, so it's a list of lists, right? So what you actually feed into the AI is a list of lists, a list of vectors, and that is what's fed in, that that's the numerical representation of what you said. And so think of the LLM as this box that receives this numerical list of numbers. It goes through one of the largest neural networks that man has ever created, and that's the subject for another day. And it takes that list of lists through that neural network, and then it's going to produce sort of one at a time the response, one word at a time or one token at a time, that response. And as it's creating that response, it's feeding the response itself back into the input. So it's sort of giving itself context of the answer as it's producing the answer. But the point is, it's working all in numbers, okay? It's working completely in numbers. It's not working in English. It's not working in Croatian. It's not working in Russian. It's working in numbers. And then when it gets its final list of words, or when it gets its final set of, let's call them word numbers, then it does a mapping back from those word numbers, word lists, back into the target language, so English. So that black box, whatever's in that black box, is doing the transformation of the input into the output. And the better that black box works, the more complete, the more accurate the information is. Now, I view hallucinations as simply the black box needs some working on. And it's, in my mind, a feature of the LLM, the large language model, not necessarily a flaw. Because what it's saying is that it didn't have the exact correct answer, but it had things that were close. And it did its very best job with the model and the input that it had to give you the answer. All right, it, based on the data that was available, based on the model's capability, it gave the best answer. And sometimes that answer is a complete fiction. It's something that didn't necessarily, but you know what, when I've had this, when I've asked it a technical question, or I've asked it about something that I know is in some documentation somewhere embedded in a massive library of technical documentation, and I get an answer, well, and it's not quite right, or it's like, well, it says, well, do this menu option, click this, and that, whatever that is, doesn't even exist. So that would be considered a hallucination. Now you could say, well, that's a real problem, but you know what, it usually gets me closer. what it's telling me gets me a little closer, and I'm usually able then to solve the problem. So in my mind, it helped quite a bit. It steered me. Now, other hallucinations are more significant. You'll ask a biographical question about someone, and it talks about children that they didn't have, or places that they never lived. It says they lived, and jobs they never had. It says they had. So, but to me, it's inventing. It's just math. At the end of the day, a hallucination is just, it gave you the best mathematical representation of the answer that it is able to do at this point in time. You got a mathematically correct, not the word correct, but that's the mathematical answer. A hallucination is just a mathematical answer that doesn't actually line up with reality. And in my view, that happens much less than it. In fact, it gives you a great mathematical answer that's a perfect representation of reality. And I've never seen an LLM, AI, I've never had it hallucinate with code, which is kind of interesting. When I ask it to write some code for me, I've not yet had it sort of create something totally fanciful or use keywords or syntax that doesn't exist. I'm just struggling to think of an example where that has happened. So yeah, I view hallucinations as a feature, not a bug. You just got to know what you're getting into using this tool, right? Again, one of my themes is this is a tool. AI is a tool for our use, not an exact truth teller, not an exact representation of reality. It's just another technological tool in the vast array of technological tools that we use as humans. So, use with that knowledge, and then, hallucinations become a feature, not a bug. To me, it shows really advanced, I don't want to say the word reasoning skills, but just an ability to sort of sort through all the information and divine a response, to interpolate a response. That's a better word, interpolate. It doesn't have the exact response, but using all the other surrounding data points, it gives its best shot at it. And that's sort of the whole notion of interpolation. So anyways, that's my take on hallucinations in AI as we are waiting for the rental car situation, which I'll go check on.